everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another reading vlog. It's been a while since I did an anthology reading vlog, and so that's what I've decided to go with, because I have the Heart to Heart Volume 7 anthology, the paranormal version. I also have the contemporary version, I still haven't read that yet either. And this is a paranormal collection supporting LGBTQ+ charity, and it has 11 authors and 11 novellas, and all 11 authors are new to me authors. And the premise of this anthology collection, I've got a couple of the volumes of them, is that it's centered around a matchmaking app, and that's called Heart to Heart. And so with volume 7 they actually did a paranormal version of it, so you have paranormal characters using this matchmaking app. So I'm very excited to give it a try. I thought I would bring you along for the ride since there's going to be 11 different stories and 11 different authors. So editing Steph here, I've said 11 a lot. It's actually not 11, it's 10. And I realized that much later on, like in the last clip. So yes, 10 new authors, 10 new stories. I can't count. I used to do more of these little anthology read-throughs, and maybe that's something to continue or think about for next year. But yeah, like it's October. The sun is out for me. You know, we're now in the middle of spring as opposed to the middle of autumn. But yeah, we are going to start. I mean, with all anthologies, I don't expect 100% hit rate with actually enjoying absolutely everything in there. But I've had pretty good success with at least the first Heart to Heart collection that I read. So fingers crossed. Anyway, I might film this over a couple of days. We'll see how I go rather than doing it all in one hit. But I will update you when I have read more of the stories. So I just finished the first story, which is called You Can't Spell Necromancer Without Romance by Alice Winters. So this is an MM story. One of the characters is bi, I believe. And while I can't say the story was well written, it was a chaotic delight. So essentially you have a witch who finds a dead body in his front yard, and he needs to go to ask the help of a necromancer who's been prophesized that he's going to bring about the end of the world. But the necromancer is just a chaotic bundle of, I can't even explain. So the entire story is literally just one insane thing happening after the other between these two, including, you know, the witch is just going to the necromancer to ask for help and ends up having to spend an hour fighting off his horde of living dead, essentially. I'm not quite sure what I read, but I was smiling and laughing the whole time. So, I mean, that's always a positive. The next story in the collection is called Hot Date by Eliot Grayson. So I'll update you after I've read it. Bonkers seems to be the theme, so I can roll with that. So the second story is Hot Date. This one's by Eliot Grayson, and it's another MM story, but this time you have David, who is a human. He suffers from migraines, and he's trying to get his heating pad back from his ex-boyfriend who took half the belongings, etc. Anyway, the boyfriend, terrible. And in an effort to get rid of the pain, David decides to try one last time to summon a demon. Apparently he's been doing this since he was a kid. And he's found an old book, and it has a summoning spell in it. And he substitutes a lot of things for a lot of really random things. You know, just as he finishes the spell, the Heart to Heart app, you know, chimes and says, your magical match has arrived. And turns out there is a giant ass demon in the room with him. And the demon's name is Zan. And it turns out that Zan has been watching David unsuccessfully try to summon him for quite a while. And yeah, it's their story. Like it's bonkers. I'm so glad that this is not taking itself so seriously, because I mean, I would enjoy that, but it's really like so far, the first two stories have not taken themselves seriously. And I think that just means this is going to be a ridiculous fun time. So the third story in the collection is Sweet Treats by Bryan, and this one is Perry and Tobias's story. Perry is a pixie or half pixie, and Tobias is a human accountant. And this one was just very, very sweet. It's just them going through, one, knowing of each other and being in each other's faces and liking each other, but never, you know, admitting that to each other, and then being matched on the app and having a first date that doesn't go quite so well, but risking it on a second one. Like, sweet. Gorgeous little tiny sweet story. So I had an appointment this afternoon, and I started reading the fourth short story or novella, which was Looking for Furever by Kiki Clark, which is Dean and Rance's story. This is a human and shifter pairing. My favorite thing about this entire thing is that in the last chapter, so Dean is a big cat of some description, I can't remember what it is, but Rance is allergic to cats, and it extends to Dean being in cat form, and so the rule is that he's not allowed to shift into a cat in the house, but at the end of the book he is, and he's just sneezing the entire time. I like that. That feels like a realistic situation. Should animal shifters exist, at some point someone is going to be allergic to them. Anyway, that was my takeaway from that one. Hello, it is a new day, so there is a new story from the Heart to Heart anthology, and that is Locked in Love by Lark Taylor, which was really fun. Like I said, all of these are just really short, and the one thing that you can guarantee with something like this is that for the most part you don't get third act breakups because the stories are too short, so you just get a nice story of people falling for one another, or in this case paranormal beings falling for one another. So this one is about Ash and Lachlan. Ash is a vampire. He has been matched with a water mage who is Scottish, and in this one they're supernatural, so they're very long lived. I think Ash is like 500 and something, Lachlan is 900 and something. Anyway, they have their blind date in an escape room, which is fun. There's not much of the escape room in there, it's just kind of the setup. They're very much opposites in that Ash talks a lot, and like he just, like that's his default state. He just talks and talks and talks. He's a very bright, colourful sort of character. And Lachlan is more reserved, but is just head over heels for Ash. So it was very sweet. There is a stalker ex-boyfriend involved in the story, but I mean, that's the last thing that happens at the end of the story. So that was fun. I have an appointment to go to, so I'm gonna go and do that, and then I might be able to read another story while I'm waiting for that appointment, but I guess we'll see. So story 6 is Love Me, Love My Dogs by Macy. This one is a non-binary dragon shifter and a wolf shifter, and the first part I wasn't sure it was going to be my favorite. Still not my favorite, but I did really enjoy it. This one is adorable. So you have George, who is a wolf shifter. He, I think, runs like a shelter for dogs. They're basically his pack, and they're at a market, and he finds out that his best friend has set him up on a date, a blind date, via the app. And enter Braxton, who is a dragon shifter. And the really cool thing about Braxton as a dragon is that their colouring changes depending on whether they're feeling more masculine or feminine, or whether they're just feeling all of the things, and then they're all the colours, which was just very cute. And yeah, it's kind of an awkward first meet cute because George didn't realise that that's what was happening. And then it was just lovely. Story number 7 is Not So Cupid by Mika Nix. And this one is the romance between the brother of Cupid and a human. And in this story, this world, Cupid is a member of the Fae, so they're considered fairies. And essentially it is a hopeless romantic, the human, meeting a romantic cynic, Cupid's brother. I find that a really interesting combination, and of course Cupid is actually involved in the story because he's like, see, I told you. Anyway, moving on to the next story. Book 9 is Starry Night by Pandora Pine, which is a demigod and a werewolf romance. And this one was fine. The writing to me was just a little bit inconsistent. There was some really fun voice elements where the characters are just very sarcastic and dry, and I like that. Like I get that kind of humor. That's what I like. But yeah, the writing just felt a little inconsistent, or the pacing of the story. I think this one probably needed like another couple of chapters to just sort of flesh some things out. But it's an interesting concept. So Orion has been shunned from Greece for 5,000 years and finds his match, who is a werewolf, who is allergic to being a werewolf. So there's that irony. And their first date is cooking class, which was kind of fun and cute. One of the characters is a librarian. Like, there are lots of things in it that I liked. Yeah, just something about the writing I think bothered me. But anyway, I'm gonna go have some dinner, so I don't know if I'm gonna continue reading the rest of the stories tonight. I've got 3 more to go, or I might do them tomorrow. Story 8 is The Hidden God of Open Doors by Tavia Lark, which admittedly I wasn't quite sure at the start of the book that Anyway, I wasn't sure that I was going to enjoy it. So you have Rune, who is imprisoned in a tower. He believes he's a demon. He's been imprisoned because he's evil. And then you have Raider, who is a former magical relic hunter turned small business owner. He's opening his own sort of artifact shop. And Rune hasn't seen anyone for X number of years, but things just appear in his little prison and a phone appears. So that's how he gets connected with the dating app. Anyway, the two connect over the app. Rune's one condition being that he can't meet anyone in person. When Raider finds out that he is imprisoned, he decides to go on one last trip to try and free him, and then finds out who Rune really is. Anyway, it turned out to be super, super sweet. So that was lovely. So apparently I miscounted and there were only 10 stories. So the one that I just read, which was Love Under the Sea by Taylor Rylan, is the last book in the collection. And it was sweet. I feel like this one, it probably dragged just a tad in terms of there was a lot of dialogue, which was fine, but just compared to some of the others, it just felt like it moved a little bit slower. But that one is a silverback gorilla shifter and a koala shifter, which if you think that I did not laugh out loud when that came up, you do not know me, because I was cackling. Anyway, they're set up on a blind date by their mother and sister who signed them up for this app without telling them, and they end up having a dinner in the aquarium restaurant at the local zoo where the koala shifter works as a zookeeper. Like I said, it was sweet, fairly dialogue heavy, but you know, kind of adorable. So I mean, that's the collection. It was really fun. I was, you know, pleasantly surprised by it. All of them were just adorable and relatively low angst, which is a nice thing to have in a paranormal romance. So yeah, I don't think you can get the collection still because they run as charity anthologies. But yes, 10 little short stories slash novellas, 10 new authors. It was fun and I enjoyed it. So hopefully you did as well, and you got to hear about a few different authors that you might be interested in trying in the future. And yeah, I think I might get back into doing some of these anthology vlogs just because I have quite a few anthologies to read. I even have one sitting next to me. This is not related. I had to buy volume 4 of the Love Archives, which was a collection for Palestine, because this is the one that had Emily Rath's story in it, and I can't get it as an ebook. I can get everything else except this one as an ebook. This could be an option. You'll have to let me know down below whether you want to see that as a vlog. Thank you very much for watching. If you got this far, feel free to leave any kind of Halloween, spooky season, paranormal themed emoji to let me know you're here. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye everyone.